Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the European Smite Invitational at the ESL CM Storm Arena at Gamescom 2013. That was a mouthful, but I finally got it out. I'm Mitch, by the way. We've already had some incredible Smite action so far, with SK Gaming taking that first game in classic style. There's some fantastic team fighting, and Team Synergy allowed them to take it over the line. But we are going to be into our next round-robin game in just a moment here between Cognitive and of course, the bipolar-minded team over here. So we're going to pass to our casters very quickly. They're going to have a chat, and we'll be into the game hopefully quite shortly.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Caster's Sanctuary, where I sit in
the Caster's Brothel, as I like to call it.
The bordello of casters. You have myself and Jason Kaplan here. I am HiRezBart, of course, and we will be moving into our next matchup here, ladies and gentlemen, which is going to be the Gentlemen of Bipolar Method going up against Cognitive EU. These are the other two teams here in this tournament. We just saw SK pick up a win over Vengeance in the group stage, and now we'll move on to these two. Cognitive will play in order here now, Bipolar and then Vengeance. So they have a couple games in a row, which, you know, one of those things. It could be a hindrance, it could be a boon.
Yeah, I mean, you just get going. Just start playing, you're like warmed up, ready to go. If you just won the game, you got this high running through your team. But right now, between these two teams, between Cognitive and Bipolar, who do you favor? Where do their strengths lie? Where do their weaknesses lie, if you know them?
It's a tough one to call. You know, recently Bipolar has won, but the EU scenes have been plagued by disconnects and problems over the last few weeks. So it's hard to really say, you know, who has the edge. And recently, I think Cognitive EU is the higher seeded team here. Bipolar coming in with that third seed, so you have to call them the underdog. But Bipolar Method, you know, they tend to play a more tanky style game, a little bit more turtley. Cognitive likes to play a little bit more aggressive. They run their mid player HiRezBart. Very, very active in terms of ganking. And, you know, it'll really come down to will Youngbei on that range carry role for BM be able to get ahead. I mean, they're going to basically play the whole game trying to make room for him to get his farm. If he does, we may see a win come up from Bipolar, but if Cognitive's able to out-rotate them and find the kills, then, you know, they could easily take this game.
Well, with the current meta, like we saw SK just previously, they were, you know, forcing some fights, they were picking them off. Is that the style? Is that what teams want to do? They want to get as many kills as possible, early as possible, and kind of delay that late game match?
Sure, I mean, you don't see the like super ultra hyper carries necessarily in Smite, where if you get to the late game, there's a couple exceptions, but in general, it's really more playing the game of spreading the map out and finding those kills and making room for farm, or going for more of a team fight presence and controlling objectives. And we saw SK kind of play that ladder style in the last game, where they were able to really hold down those fights of the Gold Furies. They didn't always, the Gold Harpies, they didn't always get that contention. They generally didn't take them, but they did find kills a lot of the time, and they forced Vengeance into playing their game, as we said a few times. But we will be getting into our next game here in just a moment, guys, getting the players ready and all of that fun stuff. But before we do, we're going to toss it back to the stage, where Miss Rachel eagerly for Jason. I am HiRezBart, and we'll see you guys after just a couple short minutes.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Bart. I'm here with Risterian from Cognitive Gaming. Risterian, you have been playing this game since the closed beta. You've played almost every role in the game. Is that experience going to give you guys the win here?
I think so. Everyone on the team is really experienced, been playing almost as long as I have, and they're all very skilled in their role. My experience in every role gives me insight into how they're expected to play and how I want them to play, so I can lead them to victory, hopefully.
Excellent. What about you guys?
All right, I've got Youngbei here, of course, from Bipolar Method. Excuse my mispronunciation early on. Now, Youngbei, you guys, you know, you've definitely been contenders in the weekly tournaments. You're definitely up there, and you guys, and of course the rest of the Smite community, do regard you guys as one of the strongest teams at the moment. And you mentioned that you really value the stability of your roster. You guys have been together for a long time now, September 2012, I think it was. But tell me, your preparation. I'm always interested to hear about, you know, what teams go through or what they put themselves through sometimes to get ready for a tournament. Tell me, what's been the go with you guys? How have you prepared for this tournament?
I think we've prepared a lot because, I mean, we've been around for a very long time, and we know all these teams really well. So we know, like, we've been practicing picks and bans specifically for each team. We've, like, been practicing, like, solid the last 4 weeks just for this tournament. So, yeah, I think we have a good chance of winning.
Fantastic. On the note, gentlemen, have you shake hands for us here on the stage. Round of applause as well for the captains here. We're about to go head-to-head.
All right, these guys look ready. Let's hand it back to our casters, Jason Kaplan and HiRezBart.
Very interesting stuff coming out from both Risterian and Youngbei there. Youngbei, too cute. playing that range carry role, coming out of.
Well, this is the San Francisco of Germany, or yeah, Cologne is the San Francisco of Germany. So,
hey, anything could happen. It's a beautiful town. We're on the river. Magic is in the air, Jason.
yes.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, Youngbei, the player you saw there that was getting that second interview, is going to be your range carry player for the Gentlemen of Bipolar Method. From Cognitive EU, you saw Restarian. That's going to be their mid player with his sweet fedora. And we are just waiting on the boys to get in the game. You see them all getting their VoIPs together, making sure they can hear each other. You're looking at Mugiwawa there with his sweet afro and even better name. In the back, you see Sprayarn of that shot as well. So you have a pretty interesting lineup here coming up from Cognitive EU. Let's see what they draft is really the question. Will we see Tyr get through again is really my biggest question. He was, I wouldn't say taking over the game, but quite dominant. In terms of that jungle role, you saw him put out a lot more than Thor was able to do. You see there, Spoo, HiRezBart, and moving on to Lobster there, sitting in the center of your screen. We are spectated and ready to go on to Proxy QQ from Cognitive EU, and we will be taking a look at that in just a few moments. You see there now, Youngbei, look at him. They're talking with the admins. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to get more information on this tournament, you can always head over to the Smite Reddit. There's a couple of posts there with, if you want to see the rules set, the players' names and rosters in more detail and all of that fun stuff. We do have some sweet graphics we'll show you of the matchup as well here as we move along. Now taking a look at Proxy, Restarian. Well, in order, Restarian, Proxy, and Sprayarn there. Look at Spray in his striped blue shirt, and wow, that's a lot of face.
It's a lot of face. It's also a lot of hair.
There's a lot of face and a lot of hair in this shot, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it takes to be a pro gamer, I imagine, is a diligent care. Oh, wow, look at that crowd. We can't see it from back here, but it looks like we're drawing some people in. But let's take a look at Cognitive EU, ladies and gentlemen. They are Restarian, Mugiwawa, Game Hunter, Proxy QQ, and Sprayarn. They will be fighting out of the blue corner of the minimap, which will be the bottom and the left side of your screen when it comes to the spectator UI. And they will be, well, I guess we can talk about their positions as well. No, screw it. Let's move on and talk about the gentlemen on the other side of the map. There is your shot of Cognitive. They're definitely pretty guys. But let's take a look at Bipolar's lineup here. Fighting out of the red corner of the minimap. They're going to be on the right side as well. It is Youngbei, Lobster, Badger, Spoo, and HiRezBart.
Lobster, Badger, Spoo. I don't know, just something about that order just really,
Bibbidi
it sounds
bobbidi
perfect,
boo.
yeah. So, okay, right now, we've already saw Tyr earlier on today with SK versus Vengeance, and that was very dominating God. What do we expect to see banned out here? Is there anything in particular for these teams we see expected to be taken, or is it just general bans that what's powerful right now you want to take away?
What's going to be interesting to me is whether or not we see that Naja ban again. Naja is a very, very, very fragile style carry, but we are moving in here to the picking and banning phase. So
if I don't see that banned out,
you can come for me in the night.
Yes, I will. But for different reasons.
Yeah, of course. Athena's going to be that first ban coming out. They don't want to give that control over to the gentleman with first pick of Bipolar Method here. So, in fact, I'm going to need to change my overlay. But Athena, Agni here are going to be banned out. Agni is a ban that you see basically often against Bipolar Method. Spoo, a tremendous side lane Agni player, and he's very, very strong in the mid lane as a burst god, especially when paired with maybe something like a roaming Loki or a jungler that has strong stun setups. They can really put a lot of burst damage. So Agni and Ra being taken out of this game, as is Chang'e, so Tyr available. Will he be the first pick? You see a lot of mid laners taking off, and two very strong solo laners as well. But you have a lot of global presence available, and actually Bipolar Method is going to value that Bacchus so heavily with his Intoxicate, his stun, his healing debuff. He has a nice knockup as well. But yeah, this is going to give Sobek and likely Thor or Poseidon would be my guess. They can take Poseidon off the board here, that really dominant mid laner, but they are going to go for Thor and look to find that jungle, and that leaves Naja open for jungle over here on the Gentleman of Bipolar Method, or perhaps they will be looking to pick up Fenrir is available, Hun bots for their jungle role, but what will they do to counter this Thor is the question. Badger and Spoo next up on the block to pick, and we'll see who they go with.
And so far, with these picks locked in, are you kind of satisfied with them? Because we saw Bacchus earlier on, obviously with SK, and it did phenomenal. I mean, he was playing support. He was equal in gold with his this range carry, and obviously, I mean, with that range stun that you have, it's a fantastic initiate.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, I think You know, Bacchus is a great initiator. He has great burst damage just basically on base scaling. And that's really what makes him such a high priority pick. He has one of the faster like kind of leaps in the game, that belly flop that does also deal a knockout.
It's kind of funny because he's like one of the bigger gods.
Yeah.
And he's the fastest jump.
Yeah, he does quite well for himself. Sobek, you know, also a little surprised to not see him be the first pick. He's been very highly valued by the teams, and we have some really, really nice picks here coming out from Cognitive EU. We're going to have ourselves a game here. It's going to be Kronos running that mid lane, most likely, or that solo role. Kronos, a very skill-based god. He does have that rewind ultimate, which will take you back 7 seconds in time, refreshing your cooldowns, all of your health and mana as well. And Shibalanke going to be picked up. His branching bolas, you know, on hit, they branch out, dealing additional damage, seeking additional targets. He does rely on mana, but you should be looking for them to keep a blue buff up and running on him for as much of the game as they can, especially through the early game.
Ooh, Hades. Please
And
lock that in.
yeah, it looks like we didn't talk about Apollo and Hercules being picked up here from Bipolar.
No one cares about those.
Yeah, that's true, because we got a
ahead.
Hades. No, Hercules going to likely be playing that solo lane role. Mitigate wounds, so strong at being able to hold down that lane, and he just builds. He gets damage for free while losing health. Naja, just that you're kind of your typical full-on glass carry melee assassin. Very
so
strong,
frustrating.
very, very fast at objective killing. Very, very fast at killing your tanks as well. A great tank killer, and that ultimate, you know, allows you to take people out of fights for, you know, 5-6 seconds at a time while dealing significant burst damage.
Or make me rage, slam my hands against the keyboard, break that, punch the monitor, and then say, I'm done, I'm dead. Can't
Oh
do
my
this.
goodness, what do we have going on? What a game. We're going to have a Hades pickup as well, going to that support role. This is shaping up to be a Hades mid.
See, one thing about Hades that I love is the fact that you have extra procs on your abilities, depending on when you have the stacks down. But the ultimate, just to pull them in, to hold them there for the rest of your team to really just do some damage. I mean, when you have Bacchus following in with the stun right behind that, you can lock them all in there for a very good long time, and it allows the rest of your team to really put down quite a bit of extra damage that you're kind of going to need.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So here is your versus screen, ladies and gentlemen. The final pick for Cognitive was Hell, of course, going to Sprayon in that mid lane role. One of his favorite, probably his favorite god in the game, played most often, certainly by him, is a big Hell fan, is Sprayon. So we'll see what he's able to put together against, well, what's shaping up to be a pretty interesting game. I think we may see a dual lane mid once again coming out from in this game, just judging by the picks. But we have moved in, and here in the blue corner, you see the gentlemen of Bipolar Method are going to start making their way into the map. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are playing in LAN, so they have very, very low latency, if latency at all, maybe in the 4 to 5 range. But here they are. To quickly introduce them, Bipolar Method is High Rock Badger, Young Base Boo, and Lobster. And here they are making their way out of the base over on the other side of the map, the red side, the invader side, as we call it. We do have Restarian and Game Hunter making their way out. Kronos likely going to be in this mid role. Keep an eye on him. A very, very tricky god, very skill shot dependent, very high skill cap, and nice damage output if he can make it happen.
And my mind's been stuck on something about Hell, and I think I remember hearing Hi-Rez Kelly talk about it on her stream the other day, that they're actually, you guys are remaking her very soon, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she will have a basically an overhaul of her look. She's kind of in the design team's hands in terms of if they want to make changes to go along with it. I don't know if that's really fleshed out yet, if they're going to make tremendous changes to the kit, but she's basically going to have 2 different full looks that she'll swap between instead of kind of the color changing.
Right. Okay. And looking at both teams, asked this earlier, obviously with SK versus Vengeance, what team's stronger earlier? What team's stronger in that mid game? What team's stronger in these team fights?
This one I think is maybe a little bit of a tough one to call. Bipolar Method has, I think on paper, the stronger team fight. That Excavate, the rock coming out from Hercules on top of that Hades ultimate, on top of that Bacchus ultimate. But, Hades is, as we appear to have maybe
a little bit of a pause, yeah.
A pause, perhaps? Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess a pause came out from the players. So the admins will be taking a look at that, ladies and gentlemen. But, I think, we have a couple of them have DC'd out. And it looks like there's going to be a regame here. So we'll of course bring you all of those updates as soon as we possibly can. We're going to go ahead and pop out ourselves and return back to the lobby here.
You see our beautiful faces again.
Yeah, now you get to come back to us. But so we will have a regame coming up shortly, guys. The player's probably going to need to relog. Not sure what went awry there, but we do have, of course, the admin staff looking into all of that fun and exciting development that we saw in that early pause.
There was so much action that happened.
I mean, it was amazing.
We're about 1 minute, 23 seconds in, and they just left their base. They're heading into the jungle.
They had laid some wards.
They had, and I was waiting for that first fight to break out.
Yeah, indeed. But to kind of continue on with that train of thought around who has the better team fight, who has the better mid game. I think on paper, like I was saying, you have the bigger AoE ultimates over there on Bipolar Method, but they don't have a reliable way to really keep them in those ultimates. Hades ult will pull them in, but with beads or with leaps, they can get out. So it just is going to come down to execution for Bipolar. Will they be able to make this team work, I think, is the question.
All right, well, I mean, obviously going to find out. And just to kind of refresh your guys' memory on these two teams a little bit, I mean, Colin is a 42-16 in the tournaments you guys have been holding weekly.
Yeah.
And Bipolar Method tied with SK at 27-14. Obviously, Colin has a little bit of a older team, so they have a little bit more of games under their belt, but you would say, I think that Cognitive is like kind of the favorite here to win this tournament.
Yeah, you would definitely think so. Coming in at the top seed, on paper they would be that #1 team. I think a lot of people feel like maybe we haven't seen exactly where the EU should really be shaking out due to the kind of the connection issues I was alluding to earlier. Like, they've had a really hard time like actually getting games to go to completion a couple times. So it looks like this feels kind of like anyone's tournament. What terrible thing have you done?
I almost broke the desk.
Oh yeah, I see that. Oh, I have as well.
Yeah. But this is something I actually really like to talk about. And obviously you're from North America. You're obviously from the States. You get to see a lot of North American teams play.
Indeed.
You get to see a lot of European teams play as well. What region do you think stronger, or what differentiates the two regions in the meta?
Yeah.
I want to put you on the spot because I know if you say Europe's better, that people in North America are going to really hate you.
So we actually just got word that Autobuy was on for one of those players, and that's why they had to make a remake. So we'll be getting into this next game here shortly. Right now it seems...
Pick your words wisely.
Yeah, it seems like America's #1. Now, the NA scene...
I'm so torn with that.
It tends to be a little bit more of a slightly more, it's even really hard to call it. The style that the American teams play is more focused on the jungler, it seems like, where the EU teams use the jungler more as a way to set plays. We are in the game here, Jason. If you want to pop in, you can just /spectate on any of the player names. You missed the bus to get in early, but here we are, ladies and gentlemen. You see them moving out once again, and maybe we will see that early engagement that we missed so dearly in the first 90 seconds. But, the way the EU teams play, you see more unconventional strategies in terms of they're really much more willing to move players around, run those two in the mid lane, and more what would be considered the conventional solo laner is generally more of a support tank style. That's really still more what you see in the NA scene. You see those Guan Yu, Athena.
I think you have to hold your thought on that one because we do see Badgers trying to be aggressive here. Sorry to cut you off, but I mean, this is kind of where we saw the last game with SK versus Vengeance. A lot of really early control on these Harpies, and it looks like we do see a ward come down for a Cognitive, and they want to be able to spot anything happening. I believe they did see him. I believe Sobek did spot Bacchus right there. Yeah. And Bacchus did just go back.
Let's take one thing I want to talk about is see this ward here really deep actually over in Bipolar's jungle. So this is actually looking to spot out. Teams recently have been running a method where instead of contesting this Gold Fury camp, they concede them and they go and they take both the orange and blue buff that spawn right over here. They just kind of go around the outside around the Gold Fury. And so that's what this ward is meant to spot out by Spoo. Smart stuff coming out from BM.
And you were saying a little bit earlier, I can't remember which god it was. I honestly can't. That was really heavily mana dependent.
Shibalanke.
And was that, would we need to see something like that kind of invade coming out to give him that early blue buff?
There's 4 of them on the map, so they don't necessarily have to invade. But it certainly wouldn't hurt here. You're going to see the teams kind of concede. Oh, no. Here's exactly what I'm talking about. You see, that ward was not present for Cognitive, and so Bipolar's going to steal this orange buff just like that. It goes the way of Hyrock, and now as long as they maintain their buffs on their side of the map, he will be naturally ahead.
I don't know if they can though. College is actually going for it right now. They're going to be the ward's gone if I remember. Yeah, the ward is gone, so they're not going to be spotted going in here. They're going to be able to get a free blue buff off this.
Yeah, and on the other side we have the blue buff being picked up. So some trades coming out, but I think BM comes out a little bit ahead with that Naja picking up the speed buff and the blue buff stolen as well. So they are ahead 1 camp right now. Mid lane is going to be Youngbei and the fine gentleman of Badger here playing on that Bacchus. Left side lane is going to be Hercules going up solo against 2 in the long lane of Shibalanke and Sobek. A lot of burst damage potential between these 2. A dot coming out from Shibalanke, and then he has the follow-up to kind of detonate the dot, so to speak, with his number 3. Sobek able to get you out of position, but Lobster playing in this Hercules role, can just play it passive, use his mitigate wounds to get out of any real trouble, and look to make them overcommit under tower and find some damage that way. You see him here popping that off, and is just going to look to clean up the minions the best he can. Restarian getting quite low in the mid lane. In fact, you see him here trying to play this 1v2 as the Chronos. Not really a position Chronos loves to be in. I don't think Jason is going to have some mana problems, I think, trying to clear these waves out. We may see him look for an early back here to pick up either a meditation or a lot of blue pots.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, because we see these 1v2 lanes developing. Who benefits the most? Like, who's going to have the easier time? And I could probably already answer that myself, as Chronos is already, very low on health. But, in the end, he's going to... Oh, honestly, what do you favor? Like, who's going to be more impactful in these lanes?
It's just so hard to deal with a Hercules. I feel like he has the kind of toss back ability called the Earth Shaker. So if you try to dive him too aggressively, and he's able to get you under tower range and get his kind of CC rotation off on you, he has much better kill potential than the Chronos does. Chronos will scale really well into the mid game with the solo lane XP, but I just think he's going to have a much harder time, and right now this is benefiting Bipolar Method. But, the gold is ever so slightly, about 50 gold advantage to COG EU for taking up those gold Furies. And one thing we haven't really mentioned much is this Hades versus Hell lane, a really interesting one. Spoo should be able to stalemate this one out for quite some time on the Hades. He has pretty nice clear, building up those blight stacks, and then can just kind of detonate it, heal himself back up and push them down. But Hell can heal the minions of her own, and it's going to be tough for a kill to happen.
So it's going to be just pretty passive farming lane. They're not really going to go for any kill potential here. But we do see Spoo, he does have that blue buff, so he has that extra regen, and that's... obviously he's not as mana dependent, but it's going to help him quite a bit, especially with clearing waves. And right now, Hell, how decent is she at clearing the waves, at shoving it back out?
Yeah, she's really looking for kind of that level, maybe 6 or 7, where she's got her main nukes kind of powered up to level 3 and 4, and she can clear waves incredibly efficiently. Oh my goodness, look at this early tower damage. So to answer your question from last game, do you always see towers going down at 18 minutes? We're going to see, as you see, Chronos goes back one time, the tower gets to half health.
How do you react to that if you're cognitive? Like, do you need to have the jungler come over there, make sure to defend that turret when you go back, or do they want to concede it early on?
I think so. I think that, they maybe should have had that Thor rotate over a little bit more aggressively to clear that lane. There is a teleport consumable available to get back to the lane a bit faster. Chronos electing not to go for it there. Didn't want to spend that 125 gold and will pay for it in tower damage. But I think if we're talking about where the next play is going to come, it's going to be Hi-Rock. You got to look at this Naja. If he's able to move into one of the lanes, hit the Universe Ring Toss, hit one of those wraps, and start putting out his very considerable auto attack damage. You see already critting for over 100 damage. And when the players are sitting at maybe 500-600 health apiece, Naja can rip through people.
Yeah, 2 or 3 of those, and that person's going to go down. And we do see a little bit of pressure on the mid lane. We do see 3 of Cognitive grouped up here, and we're obviously going to have a response out of Bipolar. Going to send 3 there as well, and I'm still waiting for that first bit to actually come down. Where's that? What team do you think is going to go for that first fight, go for that first blood?
It's
just as I say that, we do see him already going to the right side.
Yeah, it's almost certainly going to be this Naja finding a kill. The warding is still really strong from COG EU, and it feels like almost this is a game of who's going to make the first slip up with warding. And Bipolar not really having a lot of wards around the map at the moment. It's definitely in favor of Cognitive, so I think Bipolar may be in a little bit of danger of getting out-rotated, but Hercules is just so stable in that side lane, it feels like, that I don't know how effective a rotation would even be coming out of this Thor sitting at level 5.
Even with all these invades coming out, we actually do have a slight gold difference in favor of Bipolar, about 40 gold, and we also do have a 1,400 experience difference. That's a lot earlier of a difference, or a lot larger of a scale than we saw just in the SK versus Vengeance match this early on.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Bipolar Method is winning that XP game, and that's really what the early game is all about. Their gold difference of just about 100 is, not tremendously large, but that 1,500 experience difference, as you see it really swinging, it just swings so wildly at this point, as the clear is just so efficient for both of the teams. But, they do have that advantage. It seems to be swinging from about 1,000 to about 1,500 advantage in their favor. So it's... Right now, they are definitely pulling ahead little by little with those levels. And the first team fight, if they play it right on paper, they should have the advantage.
And how important is that first team fight?
Depending on when it comes in the game, if you see it towards the the early side of the game like this, you may get some nice damage onto the tower, or get your jungler, if they're able to stay alive through it, a lot of experience and a lot of gold to build towards their items and increase their clear times. If it comes closer to maybe the 10 to 15 minute mark, where you have that first real big engagement, that will turn into a gold fury, and that can really bust the game wide open.
All right, well, we're going to look to see if that can happen here in the next couple of minutes. And I'm keeping an eye on Hades. Like, on my stream, I'm locked on Hades. I'm locked on a Spoo. I want to see what he's going to do here, because that's Honestly, one of my favorite gods. Him and Ymir.
You got to think,
Favorite hands down.
You got to think that it's going to start with HiRock running around on the HiRockington here, as we see, or HiRockton. But it's going to start with HiRock probably setting up some ganks as he rotates around. But I agree. I mean, it may come down to this Hades play. What is Spoo able to do? Is he able to really make the plays that are necessary with the Hades and just get those ultimates off just at the right time and able to lock people down?
I'm thinking of how these team fights might go for Bipolar, and one thing that I'm keeping in mind is if you use your ultimates wisely, like we see HiRock go in with his ultimate, and then the entire enemy team obviously going to try to group up, maybe pick him off as he comes down. If you follow that up with a Hades, followed up with a Bacchus right after that, like you can save him really easy. So you can just build pure damage, and off of that, what items are we seeing coming in so far?
Yeah, you're absolutely. I mean, that's a really great analysis, and I'd love to continue on with that as after we talk.
We'll get to items in a second, then.
Okay, so but to that point, so you see HiRock going that really aggressive boots one into that stacking Heartseeker build, getting a lot of quick damage. So I think you may have hit the nail on the head here. You have Spoo with that silence and fear on Hades, able to help get HiRock out of jail free. Already an early beads coming out on HiRock as well. They want him to be able to get in and get out. Another thing they have, with that ultimate of Naja's, is that at this level, the players are able to quite easily time it. We have a gank attempt coming out onto the right side lane, so we may have to stop this analysis. They are going to dive the tower here. It looks like Shibalaki ultimate coming out. Wrap is missed. Universe ring toss going. Spray Iron doesn't take a lot of damage, and actually that's going to unfortunately be that. HiRock unable to make it happen. That Shibalaki ultimate saving the life of Hell. That was the nighttime dome you saw come out. But to your point, when that ultimate comes out, as Naja comes down, you'll probably see that Bacchus and Hercules ult combination come out forward to burst to finish off any target that is not close to death. So that, I think you've really, really hit it, in that they're going to be looking to make the Naja safe by having the supports cover for him diving.
Yeah, and it seems like, as you saw earlier on, more of the global presence with SK versus Vengeance, more about AoE team fights, and right now it seems like for Bipolar, they just want to kill one person, and then after committing all their ultimates just for that one kill, they'll still have a 5-on-4 fight, which they'll most likely be able to pull out.
You're right, but the danger here is Proxy QQ on that Thor. He can get to the back line so effectively. If they're not able to execute that really, really snappily and maybe even perfectly, he's going to be able to really exploit that. Come into the back, lay down that line stun, disrupt that chain that they're going to try to put together. And if he's able to do that effectively and get enough damage out with his Berserker Barrage and Mjolnir's Attunement in terms of his burst, they could be in some serious trouble. They actually going to get stunned out here, take some damage from Chronos. Another thing to note here is Bipolar Method is going for that double Heartseeker. So 2 stacking items, so if they do lose one of these early team fights after they get those stacks built up, they will lose quite a bit of their damage. A risky, but what seems to be a pretty standard play for them.
It seems like their whole composition's risky on top of that. Their item builds, their composition, because, pulling off the synergy, or having the synergy required to pull something like that off, it's really high. Like, it's really hard for teams to do. They have to be really experienced. That's also kind of worries me, is if they do mess it up, if one person messes up, hits their ultimate a little bit later, something like that, or one ability too late, does their whole team fight fall? Does that give Cognitive the ability to just walk right over them? Because, like you said before, Thor, if he could just jump into that back line, Youngbei's going to have a tough time surviving.
Yeah, are we going to see the initiation? No, it looks like Sobek's going to go try to disrupt Naja here at the blue buff. We saw that Shibalaki ultimate coming out, but no initiation on the back of it. I think the one big ace in the hole for Bipolar is going to be the Hercules here. Lobster's going to be able to put out a lot of damage and be very tanky in these team fights. You see him already building that Void Blade on top of his Warrior Tabi. The Shibalaki for Cognitive EU as Game Hunter here is who you're going to have to look for, I think.
Yeah, we haven't seen him too much, actually.
Yeah, you haven't seen too much out of him as of yet this moment, but I think that he's going to be really the name of the game here. He's able to put out a lot of damage with those branching bolas moving into the late game. So as his auto attacks scale up, those percent damage splits on it, if they're able to keep that. So like when you see this ultimate combination of Bipolar, Naja goes up in the air, they all kind of group under it, waiting for him to come back down so they can burst someone. If Shibalaki is throwing in those auto attacks and he's getting the splash damage out of all of that, he's going to be doing a lot of damage. And if he's critting on a lot of those, you may see a kind of Heartseeker into maybe even an empty Doombringer build here, where we'll see those bigger crits coming out from him. It's possible. He could really, really turn this game on its head with just his damage alone. And they also have, this Hell. So if they are able to get a couple picks over here in COG, they can keep a push train rolling really well with Hell giving everyone that extra health.
Okay, and we talked about items over on Bipolar's side, but Cognitive's side, why don't you walk us through a little bit of what they have built up so far?
So you see Sprayon here on that Hell is building towards that tanky press. Ooh, a pause coming up from Asterion, so admins will be taking a look at that. But
they just wanted to give us time to go over the items
They
real
did.
quick.
They were like, oh, they're
nice.
talking about us. Let's make sure that we have the chance to really go for it. So we see that Breastplate of Valor on top of the reinforced boots with 5% damage, or I'm sorry, the Plated Greaves. 5% damage mitigation, flat. And then he's going to be going to the Breastplate of Valor, eventually working towards cooldown reduction and extra mana, as well as physical protection. So going for that tanky Hell with a nice mana pool. Proxy going to be going for the Void Blade, basically rushing against Lobster to get that finish as who's going to have that tanky presence in the first team fight. Restarian going to be going for penetration boots as well as the Void Stones, a little bit of magic protection and stacking penetration a bit himself there. We are also going to see Game Hunter here building into the Heartseeker. Yeah, if you hit that sync button there down at the bottom, the little yep, boom, you'll just sync right on up to me. If we're still in a party, which I believe we are. So.
Sorry, I was like watching. I was like, mine's still going.
Yeah, you're a little bit behind there. Let's take a look at the graphs. The goal difference is basically dead even. We are coming back from the pause. 2-1, and we are back to live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Hopefully everything was sorted out by the admins just like that. But you see, it's a 3,800 XP advantage, and that's really where you're seeing it.
I mean, the gold, it stayed pretty much the same amount throughout these 11 minutes, but the experience is still climbing up right now for Bipolar. And one thing I kind of just noticed, and I feel bad for just noticing, is that Bipolar, they're mostly physical damage.
That's true.
And is that an upside or downside? I would imagine it'd be a downside if the other team just builds up that physical protection.
It would be. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think you once again found a nice little wrinkle to talk about as we see Apollo disappearing there. They're going to look for a kill onto Youngbei. I don't think they're going to be able to find it as a chariot comes out, and away he goes, flying off into the night. We'll be looking to find the Sobek. Will we see the first one come out? Oh, indeed we will. The Thor stun came out trying to trap them off, but it was not enough in time, and down goes Sobek, first one, and this tower will fall right away. Apollo's passive allowing him to put out just so much damage onto the tower. Down it goes. Excavate comes out. They find that ultimate combination they were looking for. They pick up the mid. In the backline now, Naja putting out that damage onto Thor, and now HiRezBart going to look to steal some camps, and Bipolar Method has just turned this into their game. Goal difference is now 2,000 in their favor on the back of that tower with the 2 kills and some stolen camps, and now they're going to hunt for a Gold Fury as well and look to really bust this game open.
And we have to stop and think about how that fight started. Cognitive was the one to engage onto Apollo right there. They wanted to kill him, but he swagged out of it with his chariot over the entire line. And the thing is, he was able to catch on a Sobek, was able to turn that fight around, and then pick up 2 kills. And that must have been a major misplay out of Cognitive.
Yeah, we're going to see continued initiation onto Proxy, who came in trying to steal, and he just gets blown up by Bipolar, using their burst damage. The lockdown with Naja and the Mez from Apollo, setting that up very nicely. That's a combo we didn't talk about too much, but they've really done a nice job here. Sobek going to come around and have a little bit of slap fighting with Youngbei, but it's not going to be enough to really do too much here. 627 XP a minute on Spoo, 610 on Lobster, and you're looking at 570 and 495 respectively over on Cognitive and EU. I mean, they are way ahead right now in terms of their just ability, the scaling off of levels. They have some gods that scale quite nicely off of levels. Hercules' base damage is really, really great if he's able to get those levels. And here you see, I mean, hitting for 310 on that driving strike, and it's stunning as well. Game Hunter cannot really engage with this point, and we're going to have double stacking items coming out for Youngbei as well, which is just, this is a play to get even further ahead.
And just like that, I mean, in a matter of a minute and a half, with just how the game completely swapped. Look at that difference.
Yeah, look at that
spike. Yeah, I mean, 4,000 gold. Now, we were originally at 200 difference before that before the first blood, before the 3 kills on top of that, or total, and then the Golden Harpy, or on Fury, but that swing is huge.
Yes.
And I talked to this obviously with Vengeance earlier on in the game. What do they need to do to get it back? And that one, what does Cognitive need to do now? I mean, obviously, we're fairly early in.
Yeah,
it's still not very one-sided, but what's the first step they need to take?
It doesn't feel like Cognitive's out of it at this point. I mean, they're not kind of at that maybe like, I mean, 5,000 gold difference in Smite, you can really start to feel the effects of the items being different. And then kind of like in this pre-15-minute stage, you know, if they're ahead by maybe 10% or 50% of total gold, you can really feel it. But, I mean, they're not quite there. Like, they haven't gotten this game wide open yet. Youngbei still hasn't gone for a big damage item, just that Heartseeker Devourer's Gloves. The big point is that he hasn't died yet. And also that HiRezBart has gone for these cooldown reduction boots here, as well as the Heartseeker, and now moving into the Void Blade. If he's able to get that up and running before they're able to take him out, it's going to be even harder to clear those Heartseeker stacks, and he'll be able to be so aggressive against objectives in the mid game. And you see, once again, a little bit of grouping coming out here in the mid. Curious stuff from Bipolar that they're still trying to push into this lane, considering they already have that tier 1 tower down.
That ragdoll physics.
You know, what can COG EU to get back into this it was really the question. And you know, I think it all comes down... Usually, I mean, when you see Thor pickups, it's just, to me, it's like it all comes down to the Thor. Just like last game, can they get that right Thor initiation? You saw it fail in the mid lane before, which netted them kills. Netted them those kills and the tower on the back of that. So if he's able to get and find that good initiation, get to the back line, blow some people up, then I think they can, if they get a team fight and a Gold Fury in their favor, they're right back into this one.
That's one thing that worries me, though, is Thor, is the fact that he can jump into the back line, he can try to kill someone, most likely Youngbei, but Youngbei, with those 2 kills, that 1 assist under his belt, with those stacking items, I would imagine if he picks up a little bit of lifesteal, it's going to be very hard for Thor to do anything to him.
That's right. Yeah, these Devours
just out-sustain him.
Do give just a little bit of lifesteal. I mean, it's definitely not enough to like sustain through any kind of, major burst DPS, but, it's really more of allowing him to just farm back up a little bit of health, more so than having a tremendous presence in the team fight, but you're pretty much got it right there. I mean, either you'll see Youngbei go for that Soul Eater, build the attack speed and lifesteal, or he'll be going straight into just crits and just looking to put in the damage from behind and take out towers even faster. That's the team they've built here. Is they have Spoo and Badger on the Hades and Bacchus are going to be supporting Bay and HiRock, looking to do just so much damage to objectives. I mean, you see already 1,000 objective damage, 1,000 tower damage basically out. Left side lane, however, we're going to see some initiation come out on Shibalanke. Will we have enough to pick him up? I don't think so. Game Hunter going to beat out of that and fall back, but they will get a port out of Restarian. So they force him to spend some gold and move over here and lose some experience in the mid lane. And we may see a little bit of push coming because Naja's rotating over as well. Naja going to find that wrap on the Sobek. Do they have to follow up stun? They will not due to that knockup. HiRock wants to continue going in, it looks like. We'll see if he's able to get anything. Yes, Universe Ring Ghost comes out. That's going to get him up in the air. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and down will go your Sobek. Now HiRock looking to de-engage for the moment. Going to get locked out now. Kronos falls as well. They're going to go under tower. Proxy quite low. He's out of this fight basically. Shibalanke wants to try to pick something up here. Game Hunter looking for those kills, but Spoo with that ultimate, just as we mentioned. It's all about timing. He found that Thor, didn't need to channel it for too long to find a kill there, and now they're going to fall back, and they may look to convert this into an objective, but I don't think that Gold Fury is going to be back up for a little bit of time here.
Yeah, and just there's one thing I want to point out, because HiRock, that was his first successful ultimate, I believe, all game. That was his first kind of gank all game. And he's just been farming away. Like, he hasn't been trying to fight. He's just been trying to farm out nonstop. He's at 8,000 gold total to his counter opponent, or his counter right now is at 6,000.
That's right.
He's been able to just nonstop farm, 6,000 nonstop farm up, and that honestly kind of worries me because, they're all full physical damage, but when you have Apollo strong, when you have HiRock strong right now, that is a lot of damage coming back out to you that I'm not sure that Content can kind of stop or maybe even prevent.
Yeah, Gold Fury going to be taken out here, and that's just the strength of Naja. Really, they put Youngbei on that Apollo and HiRock on this Naja. Their clear time on these objectives is just so fast. It's very hard to react to it with all that physical damage. That's one of the things that comes with it. You are easier to counter with kind of targeted items, but it does really well. And one thing, kind of to your point earlier, HiRock's getting at 360 gold a minute versus Proxy, the enemy jungler, at 250. So he's getting 100 more gold a minute. So he's and that reflects obviously in his being about 1,800 gold ahead, maybe even a bit more. He's about 2,300 gold ahead, in fact, in his net worth, as you mentioned. You see 3 players sitting around that 8,500 mark. Lobster getting close to 9,000 in net worth, whereas over here on Cognitive EU, you're looking at more of about a 7,000 net worth across the board, a little bit under, in fact, on average.
And actually do see a couple of items coming in. We see the Focused Void Blade coming in for both Lobster and HiRock right now. And like we were saying before, full physical damage team, and the other team's gonna obviously build physical protection, so best way to stop that, build some penetration for yourself.
Yeah, they get that shred going. They'll get a little bit of physical protection as well, just helping out with minion aggro, general, tower damage, and of course the damage coming out from Game Hunter and Proxy moving in into this kind of mid-game period here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, welcome to Cologne, Germany. This is the Gamescom EU Invitational. We are playing Smite. It is 19 minutes into the game by Polar Method, currently leading 6-0 in kills. This is the round-robin group stage, and this is the first time these two teams are facing each other in this tournament. All the teams will play once, and then we'll move into the third, fourth place match and the finals. So if you're just joining us, you have a lot of Smite action still to come. As we watch now maybe a push coming into the right side lane. Shibalanke ultimate being used. That Thor ultimate is up in the air. Badger picks up Sprayer, but here is Proxy. Proxy looking to put out that damage. Spin to win is out, but now he's out of mana. They find a stun on the Lobster, but he's going to bees it away. Mitigate wounds is ticking him back up. You see him gaining back almost all of that health, and that is why you saw Hercules picked up off the board really, really quickly. for the gentlemen of Bipolar Method, and they are looking to just extend this advantage, I think, and find a tower. And they need to do it in a hurry because Shibalanki is on the other side with that split push. They're going to rotate the Apollo in, so they really have no effective way to stop that. And Shibalanki will get himself a tower, and if Bipolar is unable to convert anything here, this may be going Cognitive's way.
And right now, I mean, they're trying to do damage to the tower, but still, it's at about half health. It is falling very quickly there. And right now, it looks like they should be able to take it down, but at really what cost? I mean, losing 2 turrets on your side of the map, there was the potential for that on the left side. That's got to hurt, because then that leaves that Phoenix wide open.
Yeah, here's the recall coming out from Bay. He's going to go back. They did take some damage, though, onto that tier 2, and that's, you know, that one went really far in the way of Cognitive, I think. I mean, you see the gold difference kind of goes back down just a bit. They're still about 5,600 behind, but it's good that they've at least seemed to close up the bleeding for the moment and have a little bit of, you know, at least something going their way. But the XP difference just continues to climb in favor of Bipolar Method.
And we actually are, I believe, equal on turrets being taken down so far. So Cognitive, even though they're not really winning the fights, they have yet to put up a kill on the board. They're still trying to keep up in gold in that sense. Down about 5,000-6,000 right now, and honestly, just looking at this game, I mean, it's been steadily going in favor of Bipolar, and I'm curious, do they have what it takes to close out the game? Because honestly, that's sometimes what a lot of teams struggle with in many different games.
Sure.
You know, across any genre, is closing out games, especially when you're offline and you're in front of a big crowd.
Yeah, you know, it's do you have that kind of that carry mentality that, you know, we can take this game right now, find that advantage, and exploit it. You know, I would expect Bipolar Method right now to be just once again looking for a conservative play, finding another Gold Fury, and continuing to get more ahead. That seems to be something that the teams really kind of value, is just, you know, really making sure you're ready to go in. One thing to point out here is Blink 3 is up and running on Bacchus, so he has that online, which means he has a blink available every 45 seconds when he's out of combat for 5 seconds, and he gets, you know, a little bit of move speed after. But, you know, we'll see these Blink Hades initiations, and that can be some really exciting stuff if we're able to see those come out. I would consider us lucky, because you know, if he's able to bust up in a couple team fights, I think Bipolar can take this sooner than later. And
we do see Badger. He's coming in with a Sovereignty, so he's got the extra 450 health, that's 65 protection, not to mention boosting the magical and physical protection of your allies. And we've seen earlier in the fights, as we saw, actually we've seen another fight break out, so, oh, okay, no, we're not seeing a fight breaking out. I can get back to my point, is that on that turret on the right side, you saw Bacchus. He was the one to go in. Badger wanted to start off the fight, and with extra protection, extra health, not to mention that support item helping out his allies, like, that kind of shows Bipolar's hand, that he's the one to initiate. So maybe if Cognitive can avoid that or dodge that, then they'll be able to take the fights in their own hands.
You see the ports coming out to try to reinforce this left side outer turret here. That tier 1 still up and standing. So it looks like that port's going to be enough to hold them off for the moment, ladies and gentlemen. You know, as we see over here in the right side lane, Bay and Spray aren't going back and forth at it. Young Bay just trying to get his life steal up and just maintain this lane, find some farm as well. Spray definitely has a very more sustained base kit. Mez coming up from Young Bay, going to try to take out this tower, or at least get a couple of free shots. Not going to be able to be bursted down by the hell, and away he goes as the Gold Fury is being contested.
And that's really hard to shut down, and now he is currently sitting at 202, 9,400 gold total. He doesn't have the highest on his team, but he's putting out quite a bit of damage. Gold Fury is going to be started up here. It looks like both teams don't want to let this go for free.
Yeah, they don't. Hercules in that front line, though, able to eat just so much of that damage. The Gold Fury, they're going to let it reset here. They're trying to find a kill. HiRezBart actually gets that wrap, but not until he gets stunned. He misses the ultimate as Mugiwara was knocked up. Oh, so unfortunate for him. And Bipolar uses quite a bit there, but are unable to net any kills. They're looking for this kill on a Sobek still. They want to pick him up. There comes the burst. Aegis is going to be used, and that will likely spell his death. Indeed, down he goes. So no Sobek available for this next fight. In the meantime, what have they done? They lost the Gold Fury in terms of the resets. They lost the health. They did the damage they did to it, but they get a split push Apollo, and this is what they're looking for. Probably for most of the mid game is to get to get Cognitive to overcommit and have Young Bay available to farm, and that is exactly what you see here. And now he's going to get some damage onto the tier 2 tower as well.
Yeah, that was a 4v5 for Bipolar, and they still were able to pick up a kill off of that. Like, that's just crazy. And then they get a turret as well. So right now, I mean, if they can keep pulling someone away from Cognitive over to that 4-man group, or pulling multiple people, that allows Young Beta to keep split pushing, and he just got 2 free turrets.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a lot of gold.
Big plays there coming out. I mean, you saw him use that Mez, and that's one of Apollo's strengths, right? He can Mez you, and as long as he doesn't auto-attack you, he can sit there and throw those auto-attacks to the turret, and he was able to pick it up just like that here at the Gold Fury. We do have some initiation going down. Spoo and Lobster out in front, trying to zone them, Proxy wants to make his way in. Spin to win is out on top. Who will be able to pick this up? Bipolar Method will get it. Thor now up in the air. Let's take a ride with Proxy and see where he likes to go. He's going to dunk right back in. They get a kill on the Lobster, so it starts to go a little bit in favor of COG, but have they overcommitted to get that kill? It looks like no so far. Restarian finds a kill onto HiRock, and this is really great for them. They reset those stacks. Everyone quite low now on Bipolar, trying to get out his Badger. He looks like he's going to be okay. Spoo also making his way out. He looks fine, and Bay, of course, back in the base. So for now, they're going to dive Badger. They'll pick him up in the mid lane, and they may get a tower here as well. The blink comes out from Spoo, but he finds Proxy in the jungle, forced to disengage. Apollo comes back in, and he's just going to ride that chariot around a bit until he finds maybe a defensible position, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at the graph, as this one has just ticked back down a bit in favor of Cognitive, but still sitting on a pretty hefty lead is Bipolar Method.
We've talked about, though, what does Cognitive need to get back in the game, or what they need to do to start shutting down Bipolar, and as you saw right there, their idea was take the cockiness that Bipolar Method's using, like their aggressiveness, and use it against them. Get them in an unfavorable position, turn around those fights. Honestly, they didn't get the Golden Fury, but getting 3 kills, getting those stacks reset, getting going, just getting that first little bit of something, like the first kill on the board for them has got to motivate them a little bit more, because they might have been getting a little bit down themselves, but we do see Fire Giant being started. I don't believe there is any ward to be able to spot this, but Spoo will come around, he will see this, and the rest of the team, they got to hurry if they want to stop this.
Yeah, Spoo does not have that Hand of the Gods to really try to burst it down. Yeah, that Hand of the Gods 3. It'll take a miracle
trying to stall.
for Spoo to steal it. Yeah, he's trying to stall it out, but there's not going to be there in time, and now he will fall for his efforts most likely here, just putting as much damage as he can. The Hercules Boulder coming out as the team rallies in, but they may have just trying to trickle in here, and it may be a problem for them. They're looking for this kill on the Proxy, not going to be able to pick it up. He's going to Mjolnir's Attunement out, and HiRock is actually going to be the one to fall. So 2 down now for COG EU, and they lose the Fire Giant. Talking about getting back into the game, if they pick up Young Bay here as well, they're in a great spot. Trying to dunk back in with Proxy, but he doesn't find Bay. Bay actually will find a kill on the Proxy through the wall there. A nice individual play by him. Restarian looking for this kill, and he will find it onto Bay. And so that's a 3-for-1 trade with a Fire Giant. Let's take a look at those graphs now as they start to dive back towards the net. Back towards net even here as COG keeps the train rolling. And as we mentioned, if they get a small advantage and they have that sustain from Hell, they can really take towers quickly.
And just as we saw earlier with Bipolar Method, when they were doing the Golden Harpy, they picked up 3 kills, got a huge gold lead. Out of nowhere, Content comes out big, getting those multiple kills, getting the Fire Giant, now pushing down some turrets here, and Bipolar Method, they're slowly letting this game slip away. I mean, Content, it was 9-0, or it was 8-0, and they were able to put up 6 kills straight onto that board and pick up as many turns as possible. The gold, it's starting to close up very well. Currently only a 5,000 gold, or 4,000 gold difference, and just look at those graphs. They're just dropping like mad right now, and it looks like we might see Content pick up another turret here, and Bipolar, they have to be careful. Like, momentum is clearly in favor of Content right here, and if they get caught out for 1 or 2 more fights with these death timers, they can lose a Phoenix and maybe lose the game.
That's right. So the question is, will they overcommit to this tower, and will we see Bipolar Method capitalize on it? The ultimate is coming out from Hades there in the middle, pulling them in, but the tower is going to fall. Excavate comes out, down goes Restarian. That's a lot of their damage on that Kronos. They want to find a kill on the Spray. The sprint is being used by HiRock up in the air now. 1, 2, 3, 4, those crits coming out, and now Spray going to be silenced out, and they'll find a kill onto the Hell as well. I don't think I would call that necessarily an overextension. They get the tower, they lose 2. Of course, they lose their mid laner and their solo laner. They probably would have preferred to maybe lose a support. But, you know, at this rate, Bipolar gets a small uptick, but they've lost basically what was nearly a 10,000 gold lead. It's gone down to about 4,400. XP also has come down quite a bit, so Cognitive EU making the right plays to pull back into this game, but, you know, now I kind of take that back. It looks like they have overcommitted. They pick up those kills, they go back, they find the tower.
The death timer is 60 seconds. Like, this is ridiculous. And because of those 2 kills, they have a 5-on-3 advantageous fight. They're able to take a turret. They're able to take as much jungle creeps away as possible. And I mean, Cognitive, they might have been getting a little bit antsy right there, wanting to close out the game maybe. But right now, just as quick as they got the lead or came back, Bipolar's able to pull that back in their favor yet again. Yeah, I think, I feel a little foolish now saying that, because the two players they did pick up, Restarian and Spray, are the top levels for that team. So they have those very long respawn timers. And once you're level 20, you're talking 45 to 60 seconds at about that 30-minute mark here. So they would have much rather have lost Mugi and Proxy there, who didn't really have that, would have had much shorter respawn timers. And as a result, as you mentioned, they pick up that tower. They're going to bring that gold difference back up to about 6K. And now they're going to be looking to get the steamroll going, and you can see the response builds coming out. You have double Bulwark out now on Mugi and Proxy.
for Cognitive EU. They want to try to mitigate some of this magical damage, which is interesting. I mean, so Bulwark of Hope gives you that magical protection, a lot of health, but it also gives you that shield that when you get below a quarter health, you get 50% damage reduction for 1 second. They don't want to get bursted down by that nausea into multiple ult combination, especially that boulder from Hercules that we kind of mentioned earlier. So now that Hercules boulder is going to be doing, you know, about 900 damage in these team fights if he's low enough on health. That's just so much burst. Another interesting item to point out is going to be your Divine Ruin pickup on the Spoo. Once to get that healing under control from Spray Arm, that of course is an anti-healing item. And then we're going to see the Executioner and a Rage Blade pickup for Youngbei. So stacking some penetration as well as attack speed and now crit. And Bipolar Method will find a Gold Fury there, basically uncontested, not much that could be done. Trying to follow that up is Mugi and Restarian, but I don't think they're going to find anything, Jason. This one is starting to kind of tick back in favor of Bipolar.
Yeah, and if you just look at items, I mean, we have 5 or 6 items for Youngbei. I mean, obviously he's gonna be able to sell that first one right there, but he's starting to approach full build right now. And over on the other side, I mean, they're finally getting their 3rd, maybe 4th item built up, and that's got to be very scary. And that kind of shows you keep that gold throughout the entire game. You're gonna have those items, and now it's just all about can they outplay them in the team fights? Because we're 30 minutes in, we're approaching game number 1 between SK and Vengeance in terms of time. And honestly, the items and the gold difference that they currently have, it doesn't mean as much as we get later into the game.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that Naja crit coming out with that Deathbringer done. So here's an interesting kind of thing about Naja. I'm gonna make sure that we don't have a team fight brewing. Well, we definitely have one brewing, but will we see it pop off? Will we make the coffee, or will it just be in the pot? Here we go. HiRock goes in with the blink. Coming up over the top is that Hercules boulder. Jason looks at me because I just said a silly thing, but we are going to see continued initiation under the tower, and it won't be a kill just yet. So
are we going to make the coffee?
Dude, come on, give me a break. It's early. All right, Bacchus in some trouble though. We may see the turnaround kill coming out from Cognitive EU. Will they find it? It's going to be a stun through the wall, and HiRock, this is the target they want to find. Do they have the burst? The Polynomicon proc, not enough to bring him down. So I think that may be it for the moment. Spin to win coming out on the Badger. Badger just going to run them away from the fight and happily go back to the pool, taking a 70-second break to do so. But yeah, I'll try to stay away from any kind of
no, go ahead,
adventurous analogies.
No, I like them.
You know, the Deathbringer. So we'll talk about Deathbringer and Naja. So we saw the crit basically on that minion, that jungle camp right before that fight for about 700 damage already. Which is, Naja is kind of, when I was saying, you know, there are very few exceptions to the idea that there's not really hyper carries. Naja is one of them. Naja,
you heard it here first.
Naja scales incredibly well off of attack speed. Naja scales incredibly well off of crit, especially the Deathbringer, and here's why. The ultimate, when they go up into the air, you'll see the crits come out. Basically, there's a little bit of a mini game, kind of a quick time event, almost a flash thing, where if you there's these rings that collapse, and if you get them inside of the inner circle, you'll crit on those hits from Naja. Those crits are basically can be boosted by the Deathbringer that gives you an additional 50% crit damage. So that ultimate basically does 50% more damage once you get that item up and running. So Naja is able to put out tremendous amounts of damage in the follow-up with auto attacks, but we are going to see the Fire Giant fight here.
This is the enclosed area that Bipolar's been waiting for. This is exactly where they want to be for their whole combo, but they do pick up the Fire Giant.
Yeah, what a steal. Spoo blinks in. Great ultimate. The boulder's out on top of it as well. They're going to take the Shibalaki up in the air and burst him down. Down goes Sprayer as well, trying to get out his Mugi. He gets picked up by Bay. In the back, Proxy looking for a kill, but he knows he's in trouble. And the crit from Naja is enough to pick him up before he gets out with that ultimate. And this one is starting to roll in favor of Bipolar Method as you see that boulder going out. Deicide for Youngbei, finds a kill in the back, and now they're going to look to take out the remainder of these towers, ladies and gentlemen, and look to find some Phoenixes. Let's take a look at those graphs and see how they have climbed. 16,500 experience difference separating these teams. 9,000 gold going the way of Bipolar Method, and they may look to go on into the base here. 40 seconds before anyone's back up, and you got to think they're smelling blood, Jason.
And that's what we're talking about the entire game. I mean, it took 33 minutes to finally see it, but the whole team fight capability that Bipolar Method has with just an enclosed area of that Fire Giant, able to take it away when we did see Cognitive, the one to start it off. It was a fantastic job of them, and they're going to come out with the victory for it.
They will indeed, and yeah, Bipolar Method will pick up a win over Cognitive EU just like that. They went for, I think, a little bit of a ballsy attempt at the Fire Giant there, did COG EU, and Bipolar punished them for it. They had the advantage for most of that game, and they were able to convert it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like we were saying before, Cognitive, they're probably the favorites of the whole tournament, but now seeing Bipolar come out big with that game, it's got to make you think, are they maybe the favorites? Do they maybe have what it takes to win these 7,500 euros for that first place prize?
I mean, it's I think all of these teams have a fair shot at it, and it's kind of I'm proud of our early game analysis because basically we said, if Bay playing that Apollo is able to find that room, able to get his farm up, he's going to be a big problem. And he was. The split push was really effective.
Yeah, it was.
And that split push then made so much room for Naja. Naja went from basically that Heartseeker focus Void Blade, and then the Deathbringer just came out of nowhere, right? Those towers that Apollo was able to pick up while Naja was farming gave him so much farm in such a flash farm period that comes out with that Deathbringer, and all of a sudden it's so hard to prepare for that damage.
And I think we actually saw a total of 3 Golden Furies the entire game.
That's
3
right.
or 4.
Yeah, I believe it was 3.
And we saw all of them go over to bipolar method.
That's right.
That is, I mean, like you're saying before, the split pushing, the objective taking, the objective control they pulled off, they just had to string a hold of the game. Like, it was just like a step-to-step win guide they were following that ended up working out for them.
Yeah, I mean, you were mentioning it earlier, and I think that's really what it comes down to, right? They picked a lot of physical gods. They picked Apollo, they picked Naja. Both have tremendous amount of attack speed and scale really well off of it. Naja with an attack speed steroid, Apollo with his passive giving him 5 shots at double attack speed basically. After he hits, I think it's about 10 to 12. With that, they're able to take out objectives so quickly that they were able to sneak, I think, that early Gold Fury, and then they were just, I'm sorry, it was the second one. They were able to just take it down before there was really a reaction able to come out from Cognitive. And
I don't think he wants to be interviewed. He's like, no, not me.
No, yeah, so we will see Cognitive actually staying on here, ladies and gentlemen, to go up against Vengeance in our third game of the round robin. The first game went to SK over Vengeance, and then we've just seen Bipolar Method pick up a victory over Cognitive EU. Now COG and Vengeance will play it out, ladies and gentlemen. There's more than 10. There's 15,000 euro on the line in this tournament, and everyone wants their piece.
Where did the other 5,000 go? In his pocket.
It's a $10,000 tournament. Yeah, no. It goes to the sunglasses fund.
Those are very loud sunglasses.
I'm a loud guy, Jason.
Where's my pair? No, I felt all left out. I got nothing to show.
Yeah, well, I'll just sit back here being classy. For Jason, my name is Bart. I work for Hi-Rez Studios, so you can find me as HiRezBart. You can find Jason on Twitter at JCapLOL. And you can find our wonderful Miss Rachel on the stage where she is waiting by with an interview, guys. We'll see you in just a few moments.
Well, I'm flattered to be called Rachel, but not quite. No, it's Mitch here on the stage with Young Bay, captain, and Carrie, of course, from Bipolar Method. Fantastic game there for you on Apollo. You guys seem so aggressive at all stages of that game, really putting pressure, on Cognitive in the early stages. Was that part of the plan? Was that something you guys came up with?
Yeah, because mainly we play really passive. We like to kind of play really safe, but we've been trying to be more aggressive the last couple of weeks because when we look back on our scrims and tournament matches and stuff, we realize that we play really passive and there's points where we could have pressured them more, but we didn't. So we practiced on that a lot, and it seemed to really pay out this game.
Yeah, no doubt, definitely. You seem to have him under pressure for a great amount of it. Now, that Fire Giant fight, that first one where you actually lost that one, and you were trying to pressure onto a tower. We had the Shibalanke where it was sort of split pushing. What was going through you guys' head when you lost that Fire Giant? You were ahead still by a fair bit. Was it a bit of a, guys, let's stop being so aggressive and let's calm down a bit? What was the plan after you lost that first Giant?
When we lost the fight and when we lost Fire Giant, we felt that we were still ahead in gold and we had 1 item on them, I think. So we knew that we could still fight them head on 5v5 even though they had Fire Giant. But because I think 3 of us died, so we kind of had to defend our towers and Phoenix, and we had to lose some towers in the process as well.
All right, thank you very much, Young Bay here from, of course, Bipolar Method taking out that game. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in just a moment. We're going to go to a big quick break, and we're back with some more of the games here, of course, at the European Smite Invitational here at Gamescom.